incumbents win the races for county legislator and Mamaroneck town supervisor.
The village of Mamaroneck gets a new trustee and maybe a new mayor.
Mayor Liz Feld talks rumors and fact in the village of Larchmont.
Budget news from the town of Mamaroneck.
And public meetings about Mamaroneck schools and a new cable franchise agreement. Those stories and more coming up on this edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
Welcome to this edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Mike Witch.
And I'm Maura Carlin. Our top story. Election night 2007 was a good night for the local incumbents running for county legislator and Mamaroneck town supervisor. Democrat Judy Myers easily held on to her seat in the Westchester County Legislature, beating Republican opponent Donald March for the second time with over 2/3 of the vote. Mamaroneck Town Supervisor Valerie O'Keefe won her first contested race in many years over Town Councilman Ernie Odierna, a Democrat. O'Keefe received 69% of the vote to Odierna's 31%. Also re-elected were Town Justice Jean Brescia and Town Councilwoman Phyllis Whitner, both of whom ran unopposed. Likewise, David Fishman was elected to the Town Council and Christina Battaglia as Town Clerk, both running without opposition. These results, which as Mike will tell you, makes the election even more interesting in the village of Mamaroneck.
That's right, Maura. The races in the village of Mamaroneck for mayor and trustee were highly contested and very tight. Democrat Randy Rabinowitz is the winner for the trustee seat currently held by Tony Fava, who was appointed by the mayor earlier this year to fill the seat vacated when Bill Panessa quit. Rabinowitz has 55% of the vote to Fava's 45%. The mayoral race is even closer. As of November 8th, the official tally is 1,833 votes for Democrat challenger Kathy Savold and 1,784 for Mayor Phil Trifoletti. Separated by only 49 votes right now, official results must await the opening and counting of the absentee ballots mailed but not received by Election Day, as well as the write-in affidavits made at the polls. According to the County Board of Elections, these may not be opened until 7 days after Election Day. But election night, this was the scene at the Three Jalapenos restaurant in Mamaroneck as the Democrats celebrated.
And ladies and gentlemen, the next mayor of the village of Mamaroneck, Kathy Savold.
I have to say, this is the time, and this is the team. I have to say, this was an incredible journey, and the best part of it is I normally want everything to be over so I can mark it on my to-do list. But in this group, and in this effort, every single day was great. The journey was great itself. How we all worked together as a team, no one had any ego involved. It was, let's produce the cleanest, clearest statement of what we want to do differently. And I think the voters read our literature and listened to us.
From this time forward, people will say the politics of divisiveness, along with its parents, fear and hatred, have left the village of Mamaroneck.
Amen.
From this day forward, people will say it doesn't matter who you are anymore. They'll say it doesn't matter who you know anymore. They will say it doesn't matter what party you belong to anymore. Every resident is treated with respect. They'll say every issue is settled with intelligence, objectivity, and fairness. Every dollar is well spent and adds value to the lives of the people of Mamaroneck.
While Kathy Savold has declared victory, Mayor Trifoletti has not yet conceded. He told me that a recount is scheduled for November 13th and that until all the votes are counted, we won't know who won. Mike, what about the Ryeneck voters who vote in the town of Rye as opposed to the town of Mamaroneck?
Well, in the town of Rye, Maura, the Democrat incumbent, Bob Morabito, was defeated.
He was.
As were his two running mates. So the board now changes to Republican control from Democrat control. And that was not a very, shall we say, close race.
It wasn't.
No.
Do you know about the percentages of that one?
I do know that Joseph Carlin, who is the new town supervisor in Rye, received 59% of the votes there. And the council members, Robert Nioris and David Gelfarb, also won handily.
Although there were no elections in the village of Larchmont this month, there certainly is plenty going on. Mayor Liz Feld came in to talk. There are lots of rumors going around in the village of Larchmont, and I know you wanted to come in and talk about them to get the record set straight. So I'm going to let you do that.
Well, I want to talk about a lot of things. Does it have to just be the rumors?
No, we have a lot of things to talk about.
Which one are you talking about? The Boston rumor? The Boston?
Well, we
the
can
moving
start
to
with the
Boston
Boston rumor.
There's been a rumor around for years now. Actually, it goes back to the last election in 2006 that I was going to move up to Boston with my kids. My husband works up there for the Boston Red Sox organization, and we have a little apartment there, and he works there Monday through Friday. And I'm not moving to Boston, and my family's not moving to Boston, but
these rumors are rising again now, and they're related to something going on in the village, from what I understand.
Well, they're politically motivated, if that's what you're getting at.
No,
I mean,
I was
they're
getting
related.
at the fire department issues that you're hearing it again, I thought, as people were soliciting signatures.
Well, you're right. You're right. It started in 2006 in that election. It died down. Then during this whole argument or discussion over the paid chief and the volunteer chief, it started as some of these guys were going door to door collecting signatures for hoping for a referendum on the issue of fire chief. So the rumor about my moving to Boston came back. Rumors as bad as my having an inappropriate relationship with a village official, rumors about my own marriage falling apart, all kinds of deeply personal things that have absolutely no place in politics, but certainly in a small village like this. In fact, I really have to say I think it's a new low. I've been in politics on a lot of levels for 30 years, and I think it's a disgrace.
Okay. But I take it that these things are not true.
Well, not only are they not true, they're deeply painful for my family and my friends. You know, people hear things and then they want to ask, but they're afraid to ask because they think it's they think it's inappropriate.
Well, I heard your son was inquiring whether you were moving.
Well, he's been hearing it at school now for a long, long time. So, this is not idle chatter. When people talk about me or my family or any other public official, it's not only wrong, it debases the whole process and the whole system. And it's National Enquirer garbage, and that's really what it is. As I said the other night, these people, if they can't dig it up, they make it up. And there is no depth to which they won't sink to make a point.
And the point, as I understand it, really relates to the whole professional fire department, which there's now another lawsuit.
Yes, there is. It's really the same lawsuit, it just looks different and has a different cover page on it. Okay, it's the same lawsuit.
But you're back in litigation again.
We are back in litigation. In fact, we filed our papers the other day.
Okay. Do you know what the next steps are?
Well, the next court date is, I think, November 14th, when both sides have to go in and present to the judge to decide. But the case is still the same. The complaint is still that some of these volunteer firemen did not want the board to appoint a paid fire chief. They said it was that statutorily we weren't allowed to. And they were wrong. And the judge told them they were wrong. Whether they agree with the decision or not, that we did or not, there was nothing illegal about it and nothing inappropriate. And the judge
said the village is going to defend itself against this lawsuit.
Yes.
The last time around, it cost the village how much?
$100,000.
So you're looking at another bill like that this time?
Well, hopefully not that much, because we argued most of these points the last time, so we're re-arguing the same points, but certainly far more money than it should cost.
Okay, another issue, the parking permits. I know it sounds silly and petty.
No, it's not silly. It's a big quality of life issue.
But we had, I saw lines of town of Mamaroneck residents waiting for parking permits that Village of Larchmont residents don't have to line up for. And this is the first year that people had to show up. And for those who don't know, the office opened at 8:30 and there were people waiting in line as early as 7 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Why?
Well, I'll tell you what happened was over the last couple of years, and it really peaked last year, the village clerk and the deputy clerk were accused of giving out permits to some people and not to others. People said that they never got their renewal notices in the mail. The clerk was accused of taking money under the table. This was all by town residents who had been renewing their permits by mail. And she has been here for 30 years and takes her job very seriously as well. She stood. There were threats of lawsuits when people didn't get their permits. And so in her judgment, and the board went along with her, followed her judgment, this needed to be done in person so that there would be no dispute over the transaction. I mean, really, this is what it's come to. And people, it was not meant to punish the town of Mamaroneck residents. It was really meant to make sure that there was a record of the money coming in and the permits going out.
Okay, well, there were a lot of town residents who were very upset.
Yeah.
And fortunately, it was a nice day.
Well, and also, they should be happy because we ended up giving out a lot more permits than we had originally planned to, because a lot of people were unhappy and they couldn't be there.
Right.
Even though we had said you can send a friend or send someone else, it is hard.
Right. Well, we are unfortunately out of time, and we had more things to talk about, like parks and development, so you have to come back.
Not development, but parks.
You have to come back.
Thank you.
Learn more about the Verizon cable franchise agreement and whether it should be approved. Glenna has details.
The proposed franchise agreement with Verizon to provide cable TV service to Larchmont, Mamaroneck, and Rhinebeck will be presented at municipal meetings of the Village of Mamaroneck on Tuesday, November 13th at 7:30 p.m. and the Village of Larchmont on Wednesday, November 14th at 7 p.m. The town of Mamaroneck reviewed the agreement on November 7th and approved it that night. Copies of the proposed franchise agreements are available for public review at the Village of Mamaroneck's clerk, 123 Mamaroneck Avenue, and at the, quote, what's new, unquote, section of the Village of Mamaroneck website. The website is www.village.mamaroneck.ny.us. A representative of Larchmont Mamaroneck TV will be at these meetings. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Glenna Gray.
Even though the town of Mamaroneck's budget will increase by $1.6 million next year, town residents will have to pay for only about 34% of that hike. That's according to Town Administrator Stephen Altieri in a story published last week by the Journal News. Altieri cited higher than anticipated revenue from the town's recreation programs, investments, and sales taxes. If the full council approves, the budget for next year will be roughly $29 million. That's an increase of $1.6 million, as I said, or almost 6% over this year. Altieri says a property owner in the town with an average assessment of $20,000 can expect to see a tax increase of $226. Some of the major expenditures accounting for the increase include $100,000 for road resurfacing and storm drain repair in preparation for the coming flood season. The town will also spend $75,000 on its youth and senior care programs due to heavy enrollment increases in both programs. Altieri says the budget is structured to maintain all existing services and to expand a few others. He also cites rising energy costs, up 15% this year. He says the town is tailoring its operations to be more environmentally friendly, for example, including using fluorescent light and biofuel heating in its municipal buildings and running more trucks on biodiesel fuel. Altieri says the town will have a brand new garbage truck that runs only on vegetable oil in the next few weeks. The town council is reviewing the budget and they'll hold a public hearing December the 6th. The final budget for the town of Mamaroneck is scheduled to be adopted December 19th.
Glenna Gray reports on a new media center at a local school.
On October 19th, the school, Saints John and Paul, unveiled its newly constructed media center to more than 150 parents and community people. Sister Maria Pappas, the superintendent of schools for the Archdiocese of New York, was the guest of honor at the grand opening. Sister Maria said, quote, "This is truly a community of faith committed to the education of its children," unquote. The new media center is over 2,000 square feet and includes a computer lab, study room, and library. The new computer classroom features 30 new Lenovo personal computers, as well as a smart board for ease of instruction. Besides computers for individual research, a study room allows students another opportunity for additional research. Funds for this educational project were raised through the parish efforts, the Bicentennial Campaign for the Archdiocese, and the Parish School Parents Association. The St. John and Paul School offers a full curriculum for their students K through 8th grade. For more information, call Barbara Gallagher at 914-834-6332. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Glenna Gray.
Fire destroyed a 35-foot yacht in Mamaroneck Harbor early November 7th. According to the Journal News, Mamaroneck police estimated the value of the boat at $750,000. They are interviewing the Harrison boat owner, and the fire remains a crime scene until police determine whether it was an accident. No one was aboard at the time of the fire.
The giant agribusiness company Cargill Incorporated announced last week that it's recalling more than 1 million pounds of ground beef that may be contaminated with E. coli bacteria. Stop and Shop and ShopRite stores in our area sell the products. The ground beef was produced between October 8th and 11th at Cargill Meat Solutions plant in Wyalusing, Pennsylvania, and it was distributed to retailers across the country. Cargill's president, John Keating, has said that no illnesses have so far been associated with this product, and his company is working closely with the USDA to remove the product from the marketplace. E. coli, you might know, is harbored in the intestines of cattle. Improper butchering and processing can cause that to get onto the meat. Thorough cooking to at least 160 degrees internal temperature will destroy the bacteria. Most at risk of becoming ill are the very young, senior citizens, and people with compromised immune systems. At Stop and Shop, there are 12 different ground beef products being recalled. Each has a use or freeze by label. The 3 dates to watch out for are October 19th, October 31st, and November 3. ShopRite has 5 ground beef products. If in doubt, bring the product to the store manager and ask if it's safe.
So Mike, what do you do if you have leftover meat in your refrigerator?
Well, I spoke to a manager at Stop and Shop in Larchmont, and he said they have signs posted, which indeed they do, and he said if anybody has any of this left over, they should, of course, not eat it. Bring the whole package back for a full refund.
Okay.
I should also add that the name Cargill is not on the package in any place. It simply says Stop and Shop. But the
That's
3
interesting.
dates you have to watch out for.
So it's those dates. Can you remind us of those dates?
October 19th, October 31st, and November 3rd.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Mike. Have your voice heard about the Mamaroneck Schools budget? Glenna Gray tells you when and where.
The Mamaroneck School Board will be meeting to discuss the 5-year capital plan for building maintenance and improvements. The board invites the public at all meetings and study sessions. Tuesday, November 13th at 7:30 in the Mamaroneck High School tiered classroom. That will be the time to catch the first meeting. The presentation will include a report from the district consultant on the feasibility and costs of different alternative plans. We'll keep you abreast of the other dates. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Glenna Gray.
And guess who's back with the Real Estate Corner? Of course, Glenna Gray.
Welcome to the Real Estate Corner. This community remains as a stable buyer's market. Every type of housing is available. If you plan to sell your house, remember this area is still a wonderful prime area in New York State. Also remember, you are selling your house and not your home. Here are a few more tips to help you sell. Get yourself a professional realtor to help you. They are trained to negotiate with buyers. When your house is being shown, make sure the lights are on and let the sunlight come in. Keep your pets out of the way. Make sure there are no pet odors. Avoid crowds, one person at a time in a house. Send your own children to the store or just out of the house. More tips next week. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Glenna Gray.
And that's it for this week's edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
If you'd like to see this news program again, you can. It's on every weekday night at 7. We record one show each week, and it's replayed on this channel, LMC-TV, channel 75.
Or if you want to request to see it, you can call LMC-TV during the week at 381-2002, extension 202, and ask to see the news show. They will try to put it on at a time that's convenient for you to watch.
And this reminder, our program is an all-volunteer effort, and we could sure use a few more volunteers. I mean, Glenna really earned her money tonight. But volunteers either behind the scenes or as a reporter, or maybe you'd like to shoot some video. Whatever the case, we need you.
In short, if you want to volunteer to help us put this program on, we have something for you to do. Stop by some Thursday night in the LMC-TV studios and see how we do what we do.
Our studios are in Mamaroneck High School, the Palmer Avenue side. We're just up the stairs across from the landmark Walter hot dog stand, and we get things started about 7 p.m. We'd love to see you here.
It's now easier than ever to reach us at the news show. We have a mail link on the LMC-TV website. You can email story ideas, pictures, or request a phone call. And of course, you can volunteer. Just go to www.lmc-tv.org. Scroll down on the homepage until you see Contact the News Show. It's that simple, so let us hear from you.
Thanks again for watching Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Mike Witch.
And I'm Maura Carlin. We'll see you next time. Village of Mamaroneck politics and a talk with trustee Tom Murphy.
How Congress safely ran from Mamaroneck.
Death on the tracks.
Russia in the Mamaroneck schools.
Status of the Verizon franchise agreement.
And a famous musician comes to Westchester. Those stories and more coming up on this edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. Hello and welcome to Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Sven Oehmer.
And I'm Maura Carlin. Our top story. More than a week after Election Day, and as of our taping, still no election concession from Village of Mamaroneck Mayor Phil Trifoletti. The Westchester County Board of Elections lists the uncertified official count as 1,846 votes for Democrat challenger Kathy Savolt to 1,798 for incumbent Mayor Trifoletti, a 48-vote difference. Results will not be certified until the first week of December, so we may not know the result until then, but Savolt has declared victory and is working on her transition. Trustee Tom Murphy spoke to me about what all of this means for the Village of Mamaroneck. Tom, I understand you have actually different election results than I've just reported. Can you tell us what the latest numbers you have are?
As of today, today is
November 15th.
November 15th. The County Board of Elections is saying that Kathy Savolt won by 137 votes. That includes the absentee ballots and the affidavit ballots.
And all of the absentees and affidavits have been counted?
Right. I mean, they wait a week after the election to make sure that stuff didn't get lost in the mail, and because you're allowed to mail it up to a day before the election.
When do the results get certified?
They usually get certified.
I thought it was the first week of December,
Yes.
but that seems late.
See, they have to do it a little bit earlier for the villages because our year starts in the first Monday in December. So they do it a little earlier for the villages. Most places get sworn in January 1st, so it's not an issue. They do it in December. But for the villages that vote in November, they have to move it up a little bit so that they're totally certified before we swear in. So usually it's maybe the last couple of days in November.
So I understand as of November 15th, there's been no concession yet by Mayor Trifoletti.
No, but like I just said, we just found out those results a little while ago. So.
But Kathy Savold is moving ahead with transition.
Yes,
right?
Kathy's been meeting with various administrative folks in the village and trying to put together her idea of administration. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. 134 votes is a still fairly close election. Does that indicate to you that the village is polarized?
No, I don't think necessarily it does. I think every election, the way I look at it, every election is like a ball game. Depending on which pitcher is on which mound, you get different results on different days. I mean, last year, we won by 1,200, 1,300 votes, and I didn't take that to mean that everybody was saying to us, "Do whatever you want to do. We love you guys." Politics is very fluid, and at the end of the day, a win is a win. And you can't really focus on the margin too much, whether it's a margin of 130 votes or a margin of 1,300 votes. And I think you just have to, go forward and try and, win over the people who maybe didn't vote for you. And, I find people who might have voted for you one time won't vote for you the next, and it's all very fluid. But as polarized, I don't think the village is necessarily polarized. I think it has a lot of difficult issues. And those difficult issues, kind of put people on different sides. What someone might be on the other side of one issue, but on the same side of another, like be pro-development, but have the same feelings about litigation.
Well, what do you think was the galvanizing issue in this campaign?
I think the galvanizing issue was there were two. I think it had to do with development and people having the feeling that the developers were really running the village. And the second one was just. We had been in the news too much about litigation. We'd spent too much money on litigation, and people wanted an administration that would control that and try and move us forward. People don't want to read about their sleepy little community in the New York Times. We shouldn't be the subject of federal litigations that are precedent-setting. It's not a good use of tax dollars.
Okay. You're now going to have a board of all Democrats. What do you think? How do you think that will affect the governance of the village?
I think what people should focus on, not as party affiliation, is the people. We'll have 5 different people. You know what I mean? I've been on a board of all Democrats. I've been on a board of 1 Democrat and 4 Republicans. And it really is, it's just personalities and how you look at issues. And just because we're 5 Democrats, actually we're not even 5 Democrats, because Tony Ryan is a registered independent and John Hofstad is a registered independent. Okay. But they run on a Democratic line and they lean that way. But I think what it is, it's 5 individuals trying to solve problems, and it doesn't really matter what party you're from. I mean, it's a local election. I mean, what are we going to fight about? How to pick up garbage? These should be mundane things. Our meetings should not be that interesting.
Okay. Well, what do you do now? How do you move the village forward? What do you think the first steps are going to be?
I think the first steps that all 5 of us have to work on is finding good people for the boards and commissions, planning and zoning and harbor coastal zone management and recreation. And
do you start anew? And
no, there are terms, but there are certain people that are coming up, and we have to look who we're going to put on. Are we going to keep the people? Just because those are very important positions, and they have a lot of say in what goes on. You're an elected official, but sometimes the zoning board has more power in certain areas of the village than the elected board, and people have a hard time distinguishing that.
And that affects the development. What's the first step with regard to the litigation issues?
Well, we passed a law a couple of weeks ago that requires the village attorney to be an employee of the village. In other words, we won't be hiring outside counsels who get paid by the hour, and so they kind of have a built-in incentive to keep litigation going.
And are you hiring a village attorney?
Yes,
For that
a village attorney who is an employee of the village.
The U.S. Congress was successful in overturning a veto by President Bush. He had vetoed the Water Resources Act. Under this act, Mamaroneck might receive $30 million for necessary work on the Sheldrake and Mamaroneck rivers to prevent flooding like the one that occurred earlier this year in April. Overall, the act includes spending of $23 billion. U.S. Representative Nita Lowey of Harrison, a Democrat, lobbied her colleagues for overriding the veto. The act will now be implemented, and the money will go to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. It will draft plans on how to change the situation in Mamaroneck along the Sheldrake and Mamaroneck rivers. Some of the money of the total $23 billion act will also go towards improving the water quality of Long Island Sound. It will restore habitats for oysters and other shellfish, and will also be spent on sewage treatment plants.
A fire that destroyed a yacht in Mamaroneck Harbor on November 7th has been ruled arson. Officials had estimated the value of the yacht at $750,000. According to the Harrison owner, no one was on board at time, and we'll keep you posted as things develop.
A Mamaroneck man was killed earlier this month on a Friday morning by a Metro North train. David Serrano, whose last known address in Mamaroneck was 704 Palmer Court, was killed near Railroad Lane in the village. The incident apparently occurred at 1:16 a.m. The train engineer of the train that hit Serrano did not notice the incident until later, when he inspected the metal plates at the bottom of his train. Serrano apparently died from head and neck injuries. The body itself was discovered by a later train that morning. Police are still investigating, and as there are no eyewitnesses, the evidence of what happened will most likely come from the medical examiner's office.
2 of the 4 guidance counselors at Hommox Middle School have been put on administrative reassignment. No reason has been given for why Elizabeth Denhoff, who received tenure last year, and Hiroko Hiroshi, tenured in 2004, were removed from their posts. School Superintendent Dr. Paul Freed sent 2 letters to parents informing them of the reassignment, but not giving any reasons other than that it is a personnel matter and that, quote, "At this time I have no reason to believe that the health and safety of any child has been put at risk," end quote. According to spokeswoman Joan Rosen, the district is not permitted to provide details to protect the privacy of the counselors. Rosen also said that there is no set time frame for determining whether the counselors will return to their jobs or be replaced. For now, the district has the Hommox principal, assistant principals, social workers, and psychologists filling in for those who need counseling.
What did the municipalities decide about the future of Verizon Cable?
Residents in our area will likely have another choice for cable TV provider, perhaps as soon as next month. A franchise agreement with Verizon Fios has now been approved by the 3 municipalities. If the deal is okayed by the State Public Service Commission, Verizon says it will begin offering television service as early as December or maybe January. This in addition to its existing telephone and computer broadband service. Fios, or FIOS, stands for Fiber Optic Service. The agreement between Verizon and the Village of Mamaroneck, the Town of Mamaroneck, and the Village of Larchmont is for 15 years. It calls for the standard 5% of revenue to be paid to the municipalities for use of public rights of way. That's called a franchise fee. Additionally, Verizon will provide financial support to LMC-TV, our community television organization, which will have 3 channels on Verizon's system. The municipalities are hoping that Cablevision will now match Verizon and renew its franchise, which actually expired a year ago. A spokesman for Cablevision said at the public hearing that his company is very close to an agreement with the 2 villages and town. Reporting for Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Mike Witch.
Glenna Gray reports on the Mamaroneck School's capital spending plan and how you can be heard.
It has been 6.5 years since residents of the Mamaroneck School District approved a $49.7 million bond for major improvements at different schools. At the November 6th school board study session, the building committee presented a list covering mostly maintenance and repair items at the district schools. The expenses were divided into 2 categories: construction for $28.5 million, which will probably be the basis of a new bond sometime in the next year, and an energy project for $22.6 million, which could be funded on a pay-as-you-go basis through energy efficiency savings. The State Department requires a 5-year capital plan for school districts. A preliminary report was presented to the school board a year ago. The action plan presented on Tuesday, November 6th by Trustee Marsico consisted primarily of work that is needed to be done immediately for safety and maintenance purposes. The 40-year-old boiler and ventilation system at Hommox is at the top of the list. The Director of Facilities, George McNally, noted that when the new hammocks wing was added, the boiler capacity was not increased. The high school cupola is in serious disrepair, and it will be replaced by an aluminum replica costing much less money. Central School's 42-year-old boiler and ventilation system will also be updated. Chatsworth School needs new lighting for the auditorium and new flooring for classrooms on the Forest Park first floor. Murray's repairs includes repointing and reconfiguring the auditorium steps. All meetings for these sessions are open to the public and are held at 7:30 p.m. in the MHS tiered classroom. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Glenna Gray.
A couple of weeks ago, we did a story on MRSA infection and what local schools are doing to keep students safe. Mamaroneck High School student Ben Cruikshank has the student perspective.
2 weeks ago, parents in the Mamaroneck School District were informed that a student at the high school had been diagnosed and successfully treated for MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. Although MRSA has been in the news a lot, and a student at Albert Leonard Middle School in New Rochelle had been infected previously, this is the first time Mamaroneck High School has been impacted. In his letter to parents, Dr. Paul Freed, the superintendent of schools, indicated that the case had been minor and that there is, quote, generally no reason to close schools due to a case of MRSA or to exclude a child with MRSA from school, end quote. Students at MHS were somewhat disconcerted to discover that a case of MRSA had been diagnosed. Senior Michael Levy said, "It's a little disturbing to find out that it happened at MHS, especially because the infection can be so dangerous." Other students were surprised because, as noted by Senior William Moore, the school really didn't publicize this very much, and I honestly haven't noticed any changes in procedures or cleanliness. MRSA often attacks athletes who may have small gashes and cuts and share crowded locker rooms, water bottles, and gear. However, when asked if the coaching staff had discussed MRSA with the athletes, MHS varsity ice hockey player Brian Connor said, "I don't actually remember any specific instructions about MRSA in the coaches' talks with us, although they always tell us not to share water bottles." While Dr. Freed stated that there is no reason to close schools or exclude a child with MRSA, many districts, including New Rochelle, Croton-on-Harmon, and Yonkers, have thoroughly disinfected the school after a case of MRSA. Mamaroneck School District representatives could not be reached for comment about whether MHS had been thoroughly disinfected after the infection was discovered. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Ben Cruikshank.
Broadway may be shut down by a strike, but the show and changes go on at the Emlyn Theater in Mamaroneck. Mike Witch explains.
You might already know that Michael Bush is the new artistic director of the Emlyn Theater. And last week, the theater announced 2 more appointments. Lisa Dozier will be their new associate producer, and Adrienne Goulet joins the theater as director of marketing. The appointments are part of a revitalization of the Emlyn, along with a $10 million renovation project they call The Next Stage. The Emlyn's new trio have promised us an interview, and we hope to introduce them to you in the coming weeks. Something else to look forward to, a tribute to the Bluebird Cafe, the Songs of Nashville. December 1st and 2nd, this is a story about songwriters and the world of country music, and it features Grammy Award-winning performers Marcus Hummin and Don Henry, along with country music stars Sherry Austin, Roxy Dean, and Randy Michaels. Call the Emlyn for tickets. Reporting for Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Mike Witch.
It's hard to believe, but holiday season already is upon us, and St. Thomas Church is getting into the swing of things. Glenna Gray has more.
Baked goodies, crafts, and gifts. Oh my! St. Thomas Church is preparing for its holiday fair on December 1st. From 10 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. You'll find gift baskets, jewelry, men's accessories, kids' crafts, and craft tables, and a live and a silent auction, all to raise money for local charities. And for those of you that can't wait to shop, there's a preview of Wine and Cheese Party the night before, November 30th at 7 p.m. It's only $5 to get in. But don't forget December 1st at St. Thomas Church at Boston Post Road and Mount Pleasant Avenue. Fun for the whole family. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Glenna Gray.
A big name is coming to Westchester music. Mike Witch tunes in.
Yes, it's true. Violin virtuoso Itzhak Perlman becomes the artistic director of the Westchester Philharmonic beginning with the 2008-2009 season. He'll take over from Paul Lustig Dunkel, who co-founded the White Plains Orchestra 25 years ago. This is really big news, like Alex Rodriguez joining the Yankees or David Beckham playing soccer in the U.S. The Journal News reported that the Philharmonic's president, Neil Aaron, and executive director Joshua Warby were almost giddy with excitement when they made the announcement. Under the terms of his 3-year contract, Perlman will set the artistic tone for the orchestra and conduct 3 of its 5 concerts each season. Perlman says he's pleased with the quality of the Philharmonic, many of whose members are his friends. He also likes that Westchester is so close to his Manhattan home. Perlman jokes that he's planning what he calls comfort music for his Westchester audience, a little Brahms, some Mozart, and of course Tchaikovsky. On a serious note, both Perlman and the Westchester Philharmonic share a passion for nurturing young musicians. In 1984, the orchestra was one of the launching pads for then 12-year-old violinist Midori Gatto, now known as Midori. For his part, Perlman develops new talent with the Perlman Music Program, which his wife Toby directs. So, will music lovers now flock to see Perlman? The Philharmonic hopes so, even as audiences for classical music have declined in recent years. That, orchestra officials say, is due in large part to the loss of arts education in public and private schools. Some will come out of curiosity, but says Perlman, the important thing is that they have a great experience and say, I'd like to come back. Reporting for Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Mike Witch.
And that's it for this week's edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
If you want to see this news show again, you can. It's on every weekday night at 7 p.m. We record one show each week, and it's replayed on this channel, LMC-TV, channel 75.
Or if you want to request to see it, you can. Call LMC-TV during the week at 381-2002, extension 202, and ask to see the news show. They'll try to put it on at a time that's convenient for you to watch.
And this reminder, this news program is an all-volunteer effort, and we could use a few more volunteers either behind the scenes or as a reporter. Or maybe you'd like to shoot video. Whatever the case, we need you.
In short, if you want to volunteer to help us put this program on, we've got something for you to do. Stop by some Thursday night in the LMC-TV studios and see how we do what we do.
The LMC-TV studios are in the Mamaroneck High School, the Palmer Avenue side, just up the stairs across from the landmark Walter's hot dog stand. And we get things started around 7 p.m. and we would love to see you.
It's now easier than ever to reach us at the news show. We have a mail link on the LMC-TV website. You can email story ideas, pictures, or request a phone call. And of course, you can volunteer. Just go to www.lmc-tv.org. Scroll down on the homepage until you see Contact the News Show. It's that simple. So let us hear from you.
Thanks again for watching Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Sven Ehrman.
And I'm Maura Carlin. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next time.